If you saw in the show notes, I put maybe doing the 4-color rally as our deck tech tonight because
Just pick on the other.
there were 3 copies in the top 8 of the GP.
Okay.
Yeah. Seems fine.
I'm not sure. I'm not 100% knowledgeable on it, but I've played against it several times,
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
We can
and I kind of know what it's trying to do.
Yeah.
What am I doing?
Let's see what else.
Yeah.
Do we have the deck list? Do we have the deck list somewhere for these? Actually, I can just pull up Facebook for those decks.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I've
just
got-
kind of kept them in
I've
there.
Yeah,
got it
it's
on
fine.
Facebook.
Yeah, it's fine. How is your talking about politics? Am I going to listen to this and are we not going to be able to have you on this show anymore?
Yeah, it was pretty benign, honestly.
Really?
We just kind of talked in generalities, talked about the 2-party system, the pitfalls, talked about the electoral college,
Am I
things like
gonna
that,
listen to
not
this
about
and,
specific candidates.
Are we not going to be able to have you on?
Obviously, Trump came up, but we really didn't go into a lot of specifics.
Wait. With all of the crap that just happened over the weekend, that didn't come up?
I actually brought it up, and they kind of quickly just
Dispersed
glossed
it.
over it. Yeah, because I mentioned that every politician within an hour chimed in on what had happened, giving their opinions. Some people having agendas as far as
Right.
like the whole gun control thing, or the whole anti-Muslim agenda. So it was, and I mentioned that briefly, and they just kind of quickly moved on.
Speaking
Is
of,
the
do you,
stream-
do you want to mention something about that?
No.
Eh,
I don't think. You mean about your show? You talking on the show, or about what happened in Paris?
No, just like a pray for Paris. Do you want to hashtag it?
No,
All
I
right,
don't.
that's fine.
yeah, I'd say we stay out of the that whole
Political
stuff.
side. All right.
Yeah.
Like, I just think I don't know. It's why
Woo!
I don't.
Bashful Arcadian's on already. Nice.
Damn.
Bashful Arcadian's going for moderator privileges. That's what's going on.
Yeah.
Crap! I have to bring the stream up now. There's Twitch. All right. Yeah. Okay, I'm muted. Good. All right.
I'm gonna step away for a second.
Okay. Well, while he's away, let's do our 20 seconds of silence. If he ever stops moving. All right, go. His mic is so sensitive. It picks up everything.
Ronda Rousey, no longer world champion.
Yep. Yeah, she got her fucking lights locked out, or lights knocked out.
Yeah, it was. That's whatever. You know what? She's already made her mark as a media figure, so she's set for the rest of her life as long as she doesn't screw it up.
Yeah, I didn't even know who she was before like this last April.
Yeah.
And then it was like the summer of Ronda, and she got her ass beat.
You know, Arnold wasn't the Mr. Universe like 8 times during his time as Arnold. He actually was only won like 3 times.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but it was enough to parlay it into something else. Into the governorship. That guy needs to run for president. You know why? Because he will parachute anywhere and just kill everyone on his own. No army, no nothing. I mean, he just, like, save the taxpayers a ton of money and get done whatever has to get done.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he's done it how many times, and we have it on film. It's not even like people can dispute his war record.
It's historical documents.
Listen, man. Predator was a documentary filmed in real time, okay?
Yeah.
I'm back. All right, what'd I miss?
Arnold Schwarzenegger should be president.
Oh,
Yes.
man. I would so be on board with that.
Well, we got our time of silence already, so we don't have
nice.
to do that. But yeah, we'll roll into Brussels, do the top 8 there.
Got it.
I didn't see much in the top 32, but we can
there's
just kind of
not a lot.
skim the list.
So, was the top 32 the one where you said it was... No.
Oh, the interesting list that I linked to you guys?
Yeah.
That was just something at the end of day 1,
Yeah.
where they
Oh,
listed a couple of decks that made day 2.
I do want to mention one of those decks, because one was a Bring to Light deck, and it was running Zergo Helm Smasher. 'Cause
Okay.
he costs 5, and he's...
Oh, is that Zergo?
Yeah.
What?
Dude, he costs 5. He's he's 7/2 with haste, and he's indestructible the play he comes in. I'm like,
Yeah.
what?
Well, and
so,
you know...
So you bring Delight Zergo Helm Smasher, and then I go, in response, Crackling Doom.
Ooh.
Yeah, I guess I saved my Siege Rhino. But other than that...
Yeah, I mean, we can talk about it. Let me.
I just think
let
it's
me find
interesting.
that link again.
Yeah, it's not in the top 32 either.
No.
It was just cute.
Okay. Yeah, it was in that day 2 link. So yeah, we can.
All right,
Cover that
I'll
too.
bring that up. All right, I've got
Okay.
first place open.
All right. So we'll run through the top 8. We can run through the whole Esper Dragons list when we do. We'll run through one of the 4-color rally lists and then compare the subsequent ones.
Okay.
And then, yeah, we'll just keep it rolling from there. All right. So if you guys are ready, just give me another 15 seconds or so, and we'll begin.
Go for it.
Okay.
And we're back. Welcome back, everyone, to the Higher Standards Podcast. This is episode 49. We are one away from the gold. I am Mr. Jason Roscom. With me this week is Bob.
Hello.
And joining us again, due to his absence last week, Chad.
Hey guys, man, I listened to that last podcast. How did you guys net Thor? That's awesome.
It was quite
Well,
the coup.
Yeah, I mean, I got a cousin, and she, they went on like a date or something. Listen, it doesn't matter how we got him. All right, we got him, and it was fine. And to be very frank, he's funnier than you. Okay.
Wait, is your cousin Natalie Portman?
That's what I was gonna ask.
Listen. You know what? Don't worry about the details. Can we just move on about this, please?
Oh,
All
man.
right.
Ugh.
Bob,
Okay,
you and I
anyway.
are talking after this cast.
Listen, I'm not saying that I've seen Star Wars at its the opening Star Wars at their premiere events. I'm not saying that. All I'm saying is we need to move on.
I'm
Yes.
totally jealous.
So the whole crew is back. Thor's not with us this week, but Chad is back, and we have one major standard tournament to cover, and then another pretty big local one. So we'll start with Grand Prix Brussels. And
That's
Yeah.
that's a vegetable, right?
Grand Prix
Yes.
green vegetable everybody hates. That's
kids don't like to eat their Brussels.
Okay.
So who and what won this whole thing?
Esper Dragons won the entire thing. Lucas Blahan. And by the way, we're going to apologize in advance. We will absolutely butcher people's names because this is a European event. So
Yes.
we apologize.
And who else thought Blowhorn when they saw his last name?
Only you because you're a mean person.
I'm a bully.
You're just totally. Lucas Blahan won with surprise Esper Dragons. This thing, like, I guess he just dusted off a deck that he never pulled apart and went, yeah, you know what, this looks good. Nobody's seen this in a
Exactly.
while.
He must have.
I
Yeah.
mean, But no, actually, this is a very kind of different list from the old Esper Dragons. It runs your 4 Ojutais, Dragonlord Ojutais, 2 Dragonlord Silumgar, which is a very well positioned card right now.
Definitely.
Yeah, when people are trying to slam Ulamogs, Dragonlord Silumgar says hi.
Yeah, I've got a good Silumgar story there.
All right.
I mean, I can tell it right now. I finally got to Dragonlord Silumgar this week at the Gamers Vault Open this weekend. A Ugin that was at 11. It just felt amazing. It was like, I'll take that, thank you very much, and
Game.
I win. Actually
So
lost that game. We're not going to talk about it.
Oh,
Jeez. All right. So moving on.
3 Jace for Ins Prodigy. And that, 3's kind of an interesting number for Jace. It's like that number where you want to draw 1, but you don't want to draw 2. And a lot of times people will say that's when you do a 3 count. And looking at the deck, there's a lot of stuff to do on like turns 3 and 4. So you really only want 1, and you want it on turn 2.
Yeah, and what Bob was mentioning by draw 2, he's talking about in your hand. You don't want to open your 7 and have 2 Jaces in hand and just be like, all right, well, I guess this is slower than normal.
So, because if you've got 1, the second one's pretty much a dead card until it either dies or you can
discard it.
Yep. So then sorceries, he's running 1 Crux of Fate, 2 Duresses, also a very well-positioned card right now. 21 Instants, 4 Dig 3 times, 3 Foul Tongue Invocations, been a while since we've seen that one, 2 Scatter to the Winds for his hard counters, a Complete Disregard, 4 Silumgar Scorn, 2 Utter Ends, 1 Ojutai's Command. Sorry, Jason.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why he's probably running fewer Jaces, because he doesn't have as many commands to bring him back.
For sure. 1 Murderous Cut, 1 Clash of Wills, and 2 Ultimate Prices. He is running 27 lands of the Esper variety. He's running a Singleton Shambling Vent and 2 Haven of the Spirit Dragon. Also of note, 2 Bloodstained Mire, so you can fetch up black mana. His sideboard's running a Duress, 2 Dragonlord's Prerogative, which seems really good right now, actually.
Agreed.
Yeah.
1 Surge of Righteousness, 1 Virulent Plague, 1 Ultimate Price, 2 Negates, 2 Horribly Awry, 3 Arishan Clerics, 2 Tasker the Golden Fan, and an Infinite Obliteration, another card which we can get into now or later, but is also, I think, very, very well positioned, and not just for the GR ramp decks either.
Yeah, but it does poop on the Eldrazi list quite a bit.
It does. I had it cast against me this weekend, and they took all my Manus Riders. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So yeah, Esper Dragons brings home the bacon, and
it seems solid, and it's odd too, because as we go through this top 8, it seems like the meta over here is a lot different than what we've seen stateside over the last couple of weeks.
Yes.
A lot of very different decks making the top lists.
Well, I think Esper Dragons sort of fell out of favor with the rise of when Crackling Doom kind of rose back to prominence, because it takes care of Dragonlord Ojutai very, very easily.
Yeah.
It basically makes it so you can't slam Ojutai on turn 5. You got to wait till 6, or rather turn 7, when you got counter mana up. And very often you slam Ojutai and then you attack with him, counting on getting the counter off the trigger.
Yeah.
So it's so Crackling Doom, but it's, as Jeskai Black has kind of been unseated from a lot of top 8 lists, or in a lot less in a lot of top 8 lists. It looks like this deck has found it safe to poke its head back out.
Yep, and we mentioned last week too that Atarka Red has also been kind of losing some favor lately, and that's when a deck like this can really shine as well, because you don't have those just immediate losses to the red aggro lists.
Not to mention, he's using Jace as more of a toolbox card, because he's running so many one-ofs as sorceries and instants that he can just flash them back.
Yeah, and that's why Jace is just so good. Such a fantastic card. And in this deck, flashing back almost any of these cards, the Foul Tongue, the Duress, Crux, Utter End, all of these cards are just phenomenal.
I mean, being able to, on turn 5, Foul Tongue somebody's creature, flip Jace, and then Foul Tongue again, or on turn 6 rather, and then Foul Tongue again is just evil. It's like, okay, and if you've got a dragon in hand, so basically it's Foul Tongue, gain 4 life, Foul Tongue, gain 4 life. So 2 of your creatures are dead, and whatever deficit you threw me at, I'm right back in the saddle now.
Yeah, such a momentum swing. But again, then that's why Jace is so good, and that's why he's so expensive. What's his price at nowadays anyway? I haven't looked in a while.
I can look it up.
Yeah. I haven't heard anybody complaining about it lately.
I can complain about it if you want.
We get enough of that in the rest of the Magic community. We need to stay more positive on this show.
Speak for yourself. I'm an extremely positive person. I dislike you and everyone equally.
On MTG Goldfish, we have 67.55 on paper and 67 online.
Woo. So he's creeping down, at least in paper. Seems like he's going up online.
Yeah.
Just bonkers. All right, moving on from first place. Chad, what was in second?
Second place, we have Rally the Ancestors by Simon Nielsen's. Yeah.
Yep.
That was easier than I thought. All right, so we've got 28 creatures, 4 Sidisi's Faithful, 4 Elvish Visionary, 4 Catacomb Sifter, 4 Grim Haruspex, 4 Nantuko Husk, 4 Jace Vryn's Prodigy, and 4 Zulaport Cutthroat. He just didn't want to go down in any of those numbers.
Sure.
For 8 instants, we have 4 Collected Company and 4 Rally the Ancestors, as usual. We've got all the lands, 24 lands you can think of for the Rally the Ancestors decks, including
it's
the blue.
4 colors.
Yeah. And in the board, he's running 4 Murderous Cut, 2 Dispel, 1 Valorous Stance, 2 Duress, 4 Ration Cleric, and 2 Abzant Ascendancy.
Interesting sideboard choice there. Yeah. I guess when you're like rallying and you're doing the whole aristocrat second creatures over and over again, I guess this can really build you up.
Yeah, it can definitely put on a defense.
Yeah, and it can give you that extra reach too, because if you've got, say, a Nantuko Husk and a Cutthroat out, and then a bunch of creatures and an Abzan Ascendancy, you sacrifice the non-token creatures first, get all those triggers, then you get all these 1/1s in response to that, and then sacrifice all of them to get more triggers. You might be able to finish off your opponent.
Wonderful, wonderful way to deal with board wipes, too.
Yes.
Which, this deck has some issues with, not as many as you'd think.
Yeah.
I mean, playing against this deck in one of my games this weekend, Zulaport Cutthroat is just it's such a tricky card. Like, in order to successfully wipe this deck, the deck is vulnerable to board wipes. But in order to successfully do that, what you really need in hand is spot removal for a Cutthroat and then a board wipe.
Yeah.
And it's like this trapezoidal problem you can get yourself into where it's like, all right, how do I get rid of their creatures without killing myself?
Mm-hmm.
And very often this deck will take a lot of damage early on because it won't block. It'll allow stuff through. It'll go to its pilot will go to 10, and then it'll just start gaining that life back incrementally with Zulaport Cutthroat, and it adds up.
Yeah, one big difference I'm seeing in this list from lists I've seen in the past, or at least that I've played against in the past, is no Lilianas.
Nope.
A lot of these lists do play the new Liliana, the flip walker, but none in this one.
He's playing the full 8 of Collected Company and Rally the Ancestors. It's a lot of graveyard stuff to get your guys back out of the yard or get.
Yeah, because if you're not playing Rally and you're just playing the straight up creature based version, those are the ones that typically play Liliana, I think.
Mana base looks a little bit better than some of the other decks we've seen too. Maybe they finally kind of figured it out. I know that one of the problems this deck had was its mana base.
Yeah, and we've got a guy locally that plays a 4-color Rally deck, Clay Gireffi, however the hell you say his last name. But yeah, we've talked about him in the past, and he even mentioned when we were talking to him over the last few days that the mana is definitely an issue in that deck.
He's back on riding the Mantis now.
Yeah. Went back to the dark side. So, moving on. Third place, we've got Antonio Castellani playing Atarka Red. Just skimming over this list. Pretty much the same Atarka Red. Were Atarka Reds playing 2 Hordling Outbursts? I know for a while they were trying that. But he's only got 3 Battle Rage and 3 Become Immense, so he's not all in on those. Where, before a lot of them were just 4 and 4 and just really trying to get in there.
Maybe we should just run down the list for people who are listening, and can't read it, just so they know what's in there as we're talking about it.
All right, we'll go ahead and run it down real quick. 2 Lightning Berserker, 4 Zergo Bellstriker, 4 Monastery Swift Spear, 4 Abbot of Carol Keep, so a total of 12, 13, 14 creatures, nothing over a 2 converted mana cost. For sorceries, he's got 6, 4 Dragon Fodder, and 2 Hordling Outbursts, so all the token making. And then the rest are all instants, 4 Titan Strength, 4 Atarka's Command, 3 Timur Battle Rage, 3 Become Immense, 3 Wild Slash, 2 Fiery Impulse, and then he's running 21 lands, red-green lands with a bunch of fetches.
Yeah, 2 Cinder Glades.
Yep. And in the sideboard, he's got the other 2 Hordling Outbursts if he needs to go just a little bit wider. 3 Roast, because they kill Siege Rhinos dead. 1 Arc Lightning. 2 Fiery Impulse. 3 Chandra Fire of Kaladesh. 2 Raining Volley, and then 2 Den Protector. I remember we saw an Atarka red list, what was it, last week or the week before, that was running 4 Den Protectors in the main. But this guy decided to just stick them in the side.
And it has 3 roasts, the uncommon that doesn't exist at Gamers Vault, apparently.
Yeah.
I would just never have them.
And very interesting is the fact that we have seen no Abzan yet all 3 of these lists that we've covered so far in the top 8 kind of have weak Abzan matchups, I feel like. I know Rally and Atarka Red definitely do.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know about Esper Dragons. I'm not sure how that matchup goes normally.
After the board, Abzan can kind of go into a control game, so it does have a good competition, but Esper's definitely got the long game for him.
Okay. Moving to... Oh, go ahead.
The only thing I wanted to mention is the kind of the return of Hordling Outburst to these lists. It kind of went away for a while, and it looks like decks are trying to go wide again. The original Atarka red list you saw at GP was very streamlined and just very all I need to do is get one guy through, pop my combo, and I win.
Yep.
And now it seems like the decks are starting to stray into going wider a little bit, which I think is a nod to Crackling Dooms and a nod to sack effects and a nod to a lot of the spot removal that's still hanging around the format.
Yeah.
But anyway, onward. Martin Mueller was in 4th place with a 4-color Rally deck. Looking through the list, it is... So, actually, this is kind of cool. He's running the same list that we just went down. So he's got Faithfuls, Cutthroats, Visionaries, Nantuko Husk, Grim Harspecs, and Catacomb Sifters. But he's running 4 Jace Vryn's Prodigy.
The other one was, too.
Wasn't it? I thought it wasn't.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jace was in the 2nd place list also.
Okay, never mind. Then it's...
They've just got the creatures in a different order for some reason.
Yeah, I think
funny.
these are identical.
You know what? These guys are probably on the same team because it looks like they're running it's even an identical sideboard, it looks like.
Yeah.
Okay.
And in 5th place, we had another Rally deck. So is
Agnes
this one any
Lanto.
Yep.
This is also the exact same.
Yep.
I'm betting you these guys, all 3 of them, look like they were on the German team or something.
Oh, good for them that they all top 8.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, and this could have been just a good metagame call. With Abzan being so dominant over the last couple of weeks, people have probably been playing decks to beat Abzan, so these guys went next level and played decks that beat the decks that beat Abzan. Yeah. And just hoping that Abzan gets hated out.
Yeah, I mean, the deck is very, very difficult to deal with once it gets going.
Yeah.
It's really, really tough. If they get 2 Cutthroats out there, it's just so evil.
Yeah, and just to remind everybody, I say it has a bad Abzan matchup because Anafenza the Foremost shuts this deck down completely. Yes. All of those triggers that they get from creatures dying are shut off because creatures are exiled instead of dying when Anafenza is out.
Speaking of Anafenza and Abzan, Greg's Gore's Kowalski is in 6th place with Rattleclaw Abzan.
Yeah.
He's got the 4 Gideon, of course, 2 Wingmate Rock, 4 Siege Rhino, 4 of those Anafenza the Foremost that Jason was mentioning.
Yep, sounds the same so far.
3 Rattleclaw Mystic, 3 Den Protector, 4 Warden of the First Tree, and 2 Hangerback Walker. For sorceries, he's running 1, and in the main is Exert Influence.
Mm-hmm.
In instance, he's got 1 Murderous Cut, 4 Abzan Charm, and 3 Jamoka's Command, which are all the same. The only difference in this, I would say, is that Exert Influence.
Yeah, and the Rattleclaw Mystics. Obviously, Abzan doesn't normally run those.
Yeah, have to hit that blue somehow.
Yep.
In the of note in the lands is 3 Shambling Vents, and obviously 1 Smoldering Marsh. Not using it for red, using it for black.
Yep. Only 2 Canopy Vista.
Yep. And does he have any actual blue mana sources in his land base, or is he just?
He's got a Sunken Hollow.
Okay.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's got the flood strands so I can find them.
Okay.
So he's there. In the board, he's got 1 more Exert Influence, 1 Tasker the Golden Fang, 1 Virulent Plague, 1 Mastery of the Unseen, 2 Hangerback Walker, 1 Dispel, 2 Valorous Stance, 1 Infinite Obliteration, 2 Duress, 1 Dragon Lord Slumgar, and 2 Silk Rock.
So let's talk about this Exert Influence in the main.
All right.
for anybody who doesn't remember, it's a blue sorcery that's got Converge. It's a blue and 4 colorless. Gain control of target creature if its power is less than or equal to the number of colors of mana spent to cast Exert Influence. So he could cast it for 5 because he does have the Smoldering Marsh in here. So technically he could go up to 5 with this. Why is it in the main? Why do you think he chose to run this one blue card in the main of an Abzan deck?
Well, I would think it's a meta call. I'm just trying to think exactly what meta call you're looking at. I mean,
the only thing I can think of is opposing Siege Rhinos, because of we've seen Abzan everywhere.
Yes.
So that's the best thing I could come up with myself.
Well, I mean, okay, so it's 5. Okay, so here's a thought. I mean, if it were me, my unqualified, unpro opinion, once again, as you normally get on this show. When you drop a Gideon, you always like to drop it with something to protect it, and sometimes a token's just not enough, depending on your matchup, because it can get killed. It can get popped if you're playing Jeskai Black. They can Fiery Impulse it. So if you're dropping this if you're on the play and somebody drops a Gideon, and they've got a Rhino out already. Or if you're on the draw, rather, I'm sorry. Somebody drops a Rhino, and then the next turn they drop a Gideon, or they drop an Anafenza, and then they drop a Gideon. This is a way to just take their creature and swing in and pop them. Although, I mean, it's basically... I mean, it takes a creature no matter what, but, I mean... I'm just trying to think about what really important happens on turn 5 on the play or on the draw that you would want to be able to steal somebody's creature and then smash in. Maybe to end a game quickly. I mean, if you've got...
Yeah.
Is he playing? Yeah, he's playing Warden. So turn 1 Warden, turn 2 you get a 3/3. Turn 4 you have Anafenza. So you've swung in for 3, then 3 and 4 by turn 4 is 7. So then on turn 5 they play a Rhino. Yeah, actually they play a Rhino. You take it and you swing in for 13 and end the game.
Yeah,
it's definitely a possibility. Go ahead, Jason. I know you want to mention it.
Interesting fact: Shibby Shot in the Twitch chat brought up a good point. There were 61 cards in the main.
Oh wow! I guess you didn't know what to take out.
Yeah.
You know what else this blanks? Exert Influence blanks Wingmate Rock.
Yeah.
You cast it, and then you take their Wingmate Rock, and they're left with a 3/4 token, and now you just have a blocker.
Yeah, because Wingmate Rock can be the mirror breaker. If your opponent gets one out and you don't, that could be bad news for you.
True.
Yep.
So very good point. And taking a Manus Rider isn't the worst thing in the world either.
No.
You can go lower on this for sure.
Have that early blocker in the air.
Or even a Jace if your opponent's got a Jace that hasn't flipped yet.
Oh god. Oh wow. I didn't even think about that. That's great. That's like taking somebody's Ugin and ultimating it.
Well, not as good as that, but it is pretty sick.
He didn't want to play with Jace, so he just decided he'd take somebody else's instead.
Yeah. All right, so that's an interesting take on Abzan. I guess it's good. He made top 8, so we need to find out how many people were at this event too. But moving on, in 7th place we have just a traditional Abzan list. Looking through it real quick. This is the version that runs Heir to the Wilds, or Heir of the Wilds in the main, and he's running a 4 of.
Yep. So Chad, you're the resident Abzan expert, aren't you? Or the Esper Dragons expert, I forget.
I've dabbled in the Abzan a little more than post. What are we talking post?
Rotation.
So I really think the Heir of the Wilds is just in there for that death touch. I really think that it's just a stone wall. People don't want to attack into it, and whenever he gets his creatures online or he has the Den Protector just to buy it back anyway, he'll just swing. Yep. Not to mention, like we've mentioned before, the Jamoka's Command with Death Touch is devastating.
Yeah, and that's you make a good point. That's a hell of a combo.
Look at what I like about this list a lot is if it's got Wardens, Heir of the Wilds, Den Protectors, Anafenzas, Siege Rhinos, and Wingmate Rocks, Dramoka's Command, Abzan Charmer, Murderous Cut, and then 3 Gideons. But what I like is the sideboard. So look at this sideboard. He's got 2 Duresses, 3 Transgress the Minds, 3 Silk Wraps. So it seems like he's really skewed hard on a control matchup in particular.
Yes. Yeah.
And it looks like, you kind of side out. He's basically got, that's 8 cards. You almost side out all of your removal. like all 4 of your commands, your murderous cut, probably not the charms, but maybe like a warden or whatever, and 5 pieces of hand disruption. That's that's really brutal against the control deck.
Yeah.
Agreed.
And you can just essentially become a control deck yourself too with the sideboard.
Yep.
So.
And we've got a tragic arrogance. So the sideboard, real quick, for those listening at home, is 2 duress, 2 ultimate price, 1 tragic arrogance, 3 transgress the mind, 2 tassigers, 3 silk wraps, and 2 self-inflicted wounds. So the self-inflicted wounds are there for the mirror typically.
Yeah.
Tragic arrogance still around. I guess now that Abzan's back on the rise, tragic arrogance has become a better card, particularly if you're playing one that plays hangerback walkers.
Yeah, I think the problem for me is I just have never seen anyone cast it. We talk about it a lot on this show as a pretty good sideboard card, and we talk about the theories of it. I've never actually seen it used much, if at all.
I've seen it used on plays when I was watching Star City Game Opens that were standard, and it seems to control the board in favor of the player that casts it. The big thing about it is you need to know exactly when to cast it, because if they're able to get their hanger back online, you're just not gaining from it.
Yeah. So, and that's the Abzan in a nutshell. We've talked about that a lot over the past few weeks. Still a very solid deck. Just no two ways about it. Mm-hmm. And the last list, number 8, is another Esper Dragons, just kind of breezing through the list. He's got the same creature base. Well, no, actually, he's got 4 Dragonlord Ojutais, 2 Dragonlord Stalumgars, which is the same, but then he's up to 4 Jace Vryn's Prodigy. As we talked about, there were only 3 in the previous list.
He's all in.
Yeah, and
2 Cruxes.
Yep, 2 Cruxes as opposed to 1, and 3 Duress as opposed to 2. One thing is he completely ditched the Ojutais command, not a single one in his instant package, but he is running 4 Dig Through Time, 4 Foul Tongue Invocation.
He's all about the dragons.
Yeah, only 1 Scatter to the Winds, still 4 Silumgar Scorn, 3 Ultimate Price, interesting choice there, and then 2 Utter Ends.
And he's...
Yeah, and just a couple of differences in the sideboard here, 2 Infinite Obliterations, because again, the Eldrazi matchup is pretty rough for any kind of control-ish deck. But yeah, solid deck choice again. Just his instant package is far different.
So here's a question for you guys. So you see a lot of Arish and Clerics in these sideboards, which is obviously for the red matchup. And we've talked about on the show before that kind of what's better, and this has been talked about in the community too. So what's better, Arish and Cleric or Surge of Righteousness? And I give my opinion on it, but what do you guys think? Surge of Righteousness, Arish and Cleric?
Well, it's funny because in a deck like this, I would normally say a Ration Cleric, but because of the fact that he's not running any Ojutais commands, even in the board, makes Surge of Righteousness a better choice because he has no chance to recur that Ration Cleric. And then that's kind of where I'm coming from. If you're playing blue-white, be it Jeskai or Esper, you're better off going a Ration Cleric because more than likely you're playing Ojutais commands. But if you're not, then that's why I'd say Surge of Righteousness is better.
Yeah, and Jason makes a very good point because with Surge of Righteousness, having 4 Jaces or having any Jaces at all, you're always able to get them back.
Yep. See, now I was always in the Surge of Righteousness camp, and my reasoning was you can't... Atarka Red in its original form just trampled over. It didn't care about blockers. So yeah, that's great. You gain 3 life, and then I'm going to trample over that guy and deal 26 damage to you, and you still die. Okay, good. Yeah. And so I always thought, well, Irish and Cleric's kind of useless. But looking at the Atarka Red here and some of the Atarka Reds in the 32, as we talked about, they're starting to go wider. So that 1 power, I guess, starts to matter a little more. And maybe the decks there run a little bit more token making over in Europe than they do, back here in the States. And so it's a better choice.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. But that's the top 8. You had mentioned the top 32. We do have access to the 9 through 32 lists. I didn't see too many standouts. We did see a straight Esper Control in 9th place, which is the old Reed Duke-ish style Esper Control list.
You've got you don't see Jeskai Black until, let's see here. Nope. Abzan, Red Green Landfall. So Dark Jeskai comes in at 20th. That's the first time you see a Dark Jeskai deck. And I believe there was a post on our Facebook saying, Is Dark Jeskai not a thing anymore? Is it not it's not a boogeyman anymore.
I'll agree with that, but it's still a very viable deck at this point.
It's a deck that I feel like it's a deck that if you underestimate it, has the ability to punish you pretty bad because, I'm a big proponent because I play it a lot, but there are turns where you can just go from 0 board state to right back in the game. I mean, you can cast a Tassiger, delve away most of your stuff, cast a Ojutai's Command in the same turn, get back a Jace, gain 4 life, put yourself back ahead, and then it's like, okay, so you went from, and your opponent sitting across the board going, I went from ahead on life with a couple of creatures on my board and him having nothing to now he's got a Jace, a yard full of stuff that's going to flip next turn, and a 4/5. Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty nice.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to turn your guys' attention to was the 17th place deck, Valentine Mackel, playing Bant Megamorph, another early favorite in the season of Standard. I had a question. He's running 4 Wingmate Rocks in the main. Is that normal for the Bant Megamorph, or is that some new tech we're seeing?
That's new tech.
Yeah, 25 lands.
2. So what I'm seeing is we're normally seeing 2 Wingmate Rock and 4 Knight of the White Orchid,
right?
Where he's switched. I'm guessing he might even have a metagame call where he knows that it's going to be more control, so he's going for that for the longer game anyway.
Yeah, and again, we talked about it before. Wingmate Rot's good against Abzan, and it's really good against Jeskai.
Yeah. I think you'd almost want to... If you're going to try and load up more on Wingmate Rocks, I feel like you almost want an even split of Knights and Wingmate Rocks.
Yes. Because
you're running 25 lands, and that's a 5-drop. 4 5-drops is kind of a lot to ask. Can be a lot to ask of a 25-land deck sometimes.
Yeah, this seems like the greedy version of Bant Megamorph, where sometimes it probably pays off really well.
This is the guy that's like, so not only do I want to be able to cast Wingmate Rock on curve, but when turn 6 hits, I'd like another one.
Yeah.
And I'd like 4 rocks.
And it's funny, too, our friend Bernard is talking about going back to a Megamorph deck. This would probably be perfect for him because he is the greediest player that I know. So I'll have to...
I was just playtesting with him for Modern before he came here, and that was every other game. Man, do I keep this hand? This hand's really greedy. I'm like, well, why do you even ask that question? You know you're going to keep it, Bernard.
Yeah, he's
written all over it.
Yeah, he's the type of guy that'll keep a 1-lander all day long, and he'll always top that land on his next draw. He's... Yeah, he's both the greediest and the luckiest person I've ever seen.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, the deck's running 4 Wingmate Rocks, 4 Death Mists, 4 Den Protectors, 2... So we've got Nissa of the Vastwood Seer back in here, which she's kind of been under the radar for a little bit.
Yeah, she really kind of fell out of favor.
Yeah, she's in 1 or 2 decks.
Yep. 2 Knights of the White Orchids, 2 Hangerback Walkers, and 4 Warden of the First Tree, and then 4 Dramoka's Command and Valorous Stance, and 4 Silk Wrap. Valorous Stance, I think, is a card that might be in a better position now than it was. Particularly with rocks coming with Wingmate Rock back in, and the return of Siege Rhino. That kind of that flexibility to deal with spot removal too.
Yeah, and I'm seeing a lot fewer Hangerback Walkers. In a lot of these lists that we've been going over, I've been seeing 2 to 3 in the main, as opposed to the standard 4 Hangerbacks in every deck.
Yeah, well, I mean, Silk Wrap is a thing. And when you Silk Wrap a Hangerback, even if you have Dramoka's Command, it's dead. Because once it goes into exile, when any creature goes into exile, the counters go off of it. Yep. And that count goes double for Hangerback Walker. So when you get it back, it is a 0/0 Hangerback Walker that immediately dies. So Silk Wrap is actual removal for that card.
Yeah, so it's just interesting now because we're seeing that pendulum swinging again, and everybody was talking about Hangerbacks before. Just a month ago, it was Hangerbacks everywhere, but now all of a sudden they're just starting to trickle away.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. The meta will always adjust. Everybody will complain that, this deck is broken, this deck is the best deck in the format, and why play anything else? Well, people adjust. There are better players than us out there, and they recognize trends like this, and they adjust. And that's why you see 4 Silk Wraps in the main of a lot of these decks now. It's just the way it goes.
Yeah. Yep.
Scrolling down, I'm not seeing anything else that I really care to talk about.
Yeah, most of it is. I mean, there are a lot of. I mean, I don't want to say they're stockless. There are difference in these. There's we haven't really gone through. We haven't really gone over any kind of green-white landfall lists on this show, really.
Green-white
Or green-red, rather.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes, green-white. It plays that at 4-drop ondu.
Ah.
It's
Okay.
+2/+2. So maybe we want to go over one of them. Just kind of talk about that. So I'm just randomly picking this. So 19th was Matt's Matt's.
Yeah.
Matt's. He was at Brussels. He played red green landfall, took 19th place. So 4 Scythe Leopards, 4 Monastery Swiftspear, 4 Abbot of Carroll Keep, 4 Den Protector, 3 Snapping Gnarlids, 1 Zergo Bell Striker, and then he's kind of on the Atarka red plan. 4 Titan Strength, 4 Become Immense, 4 Teamer Battle Rage, 4 Atarka's Command, 24 lands. He's running a Smoldering Marsh. And he's running that because if you flip over one Smoldering Marsh, and because if you flip over to the sideboard, he's running 3 Duress.
Ooh,
yeah,
some interesting tech.
I bet you that's a surprise for this game 2 control match.
Yeah, I would imagine so.
like turn 1, or turn 1 fetch land go, turn 2 fetch my Smoldering Marsh, Duress you. What?
Yeah. Or, even better, if you've got the combo in hand, if you have your Teamer Battle Rage and Become Immense, you Duress first, make sure the coast is clear, and then get it in.
Man, the way I pronounce Scythe Leopard hurt you? It's Scythe Leopard. There you go.
I pronounce it Scythe too, so.
Scythe Leopard.
I'm with you, Bob.
Is Scythe better? Sorry, I'm getting yelled at from our Twitch stream. Anyway, he's got 2 Rending Volley. Excellent, great card. Playing 3 of them in my Tron sideboard for Pittsburgh.
Yep.
2 Wild Slash, 1 Sark and the Dragon Speaker, 3 Roast, 2 Arc Lightning, and 2 Yasova Dragonclaw. There she is again, Chad.
Yeah.
She's again.
So, I'm guessing you just bring this in against Abzan.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Take their Siege Rhino?
Yeah, because if they're just kind of hoping to slam that Siege Rhino on turn 4 and then kind of stabilize, sure, let him land it, but then the next turn, okay, I'll take that. I'll whack you with your own Siege Rhino for more life than you gained.
Yeah.
Plus whatever else I have on the board.
Yep. Arc Lightning, another card you haven't seen in a while. But this deck really can kill sometimes a lot quicker than green, than just your regular Atarka red, and more consistently.
Yeah.
In that all of its creatures scale with your landfall. So the more creatures you get on the board, the more problematic it becomes. The only problem with this deck is, once you start running out of lands to feed the engine, the deck gets pretty bad pretty quickly.
Yeah, and any of those decks with a lot of removal in the main, you're going to be hurting.
Jeskai Black does a number on this pretty well.
Yeah, and just wanted to mention Ethan from Midwest Magic, who's in our Facebook group. He's been a big fan of Atarka Red for a long time, and he said this last weekend he played it. I think it was at an IQ or a PPTQ, and he decided to try out the Red Green Landfall. And he says, based on his experience, that he thinks Atarka Red is far better than the Green Red Landfall.
Okay.
So take that for what it's worth.
I believe it.
Yeah.
So
that is, I think. Is there anything else in the top 32?
Not in the top 32. We had some interesting decks that made day 2.
Yeah. You want to talk about the one, Chad?
Yeah. So no placement. Obviously, because it's not in the top 32, but Christoph...
It did make day 2, which is nothing to shake at.
True. Christoph Sourson, he was running a Bring to Light deck, so this is all about my alley. He's got 15 creatures, 1 Tasker the Golden Fang. We've been seeing this in the Bring to Light decks that have been getting play. 1 Anafen's of the Foremost. Obviously, it's for all those rally decks that are running around.
Yep.
2 Nissa Vastwood Seer, 4 Siege Rhino as usual, 4 Jace as usual, 2 Den Protector, which I think is good in this type of deck. You can always get your Bring the Lights back or get your...
just anything.
Yes, or just get anything back in... Oh wow, I didn't realize these were all in...
the different language?
Italian, I guess?
Yeah.
So... For sorceries, he's running 2 Radiant Flames, 1 Languish, 2 Duress, 1 Crux of Fate, and 4 Bring to Light as usual. In instance, he's got 1 Slumguard's Command, 1 Utter End, 2 Murderous Cut, 1 Complete Disregard, and 4 Abzan Charm. I didn't mention 1 creature, and I am coming back to that.
Yep.
But this is like the old Bring to Light decks where it's got your toolbox of instants and sorceries, but I like how he's going with Singleton Tasker and Singleton Anafenza with toolbox, but he also went a Singleton Zergo Helm Smasher. That's right, from Khan's Zergo, not the 1 cost.
Yeah, this may have been the first card spoiled in Khan's the Tarkir, too.
I think you are right. So I'm going to go over him because I don't think we've seen him.
Yeah,
ever.
I have never covered him in a single standard list for as long as we've been doing this show. So go for it.
He's a 5 cost.
Isn't he the one that you won in a red and you attack with him?
No. Different Zergo.
He is.
There's another Zergo? Where?
Exactly.
Yeah, we're about to talk about him.
In what set was this printed in? I don't believe you.
He is 2 and full Mardu colors. And why my phone went off, so you probably didn't hear that. So it's 2 and red, white, black. And we just got to follow. 2 in red, white, black. And he's a legendary creature, Orc Warrior. He has haste, so that helps a lot. He's a 7/2. Zergo Helm Smasher attacks each combat if able, no problem there. And Zergo Helm Smasher has indestructible as long as it's your turn. Whenever a creature dealt damage by Zergo Helm Smasher this turn dies, put a +1/+1 counter on Zergo Helm Smasher. So he's got the vampire effect.
Huzzah! And he's indestructible when he attacks, which is pretty good.
Yeah, so you can Bring to Light him against an open board if it happens to be, let's say you Radiant Flames last turn against a Tarka Red, and they just didn't put anything out. You can hit him for 7 that next turn. It's gross. It's completely amazing. I mean, you're getting 3 damage off of a Siege Rhino, but 7 damage is so good.
Yeah.
So he's indestructible on your turn. So then on my turn, I fire Impulse him, right?
On your turn, you do whatever you want to. You've taken 7 damage.
So I spend 1 red, and then I deal with him, and I move on. Gotcha. All right.
But see, I like him in this deck because he's a one of, and you can just get him at the exact perfect time. Your opponent's tapped out. Maybe they don't even have any creatures on the board, or they have 7 or less life and 1 creature that will die if it blocks. You know, it's situationally he could be fantastic.
But by turn 5, my Fiery Impulse does 3. How does that help him?
Well, you can't do it until it's your turn again. I mean, again, you have to play it smart. You can't.
All right.
You can't just like slam him on 5, without thinking about it. But yeah, I like it. I think it's a good choice.
I agree. It's interesting. That's for certain.
Yeah, and I'll put a link for this article in the show notes. Again, this was a list of day 2 decks that they happen to mention. This did not make top 32, unfortunately, but hey, still made day 2 of a Grand Prix, which is pretty nice. And that's really it for GP Brussels. I like it because it was very different from what we've been seeing over the last week or two in the U.S.
It was fresh.
Yeah,
it's a nice change of pace from the normal list we've been seeing knocking around.
Yeah, for sure. So with that, we talked about last week how we wanted to try and maybe do 1 deck tech a week where we go a little bit further into our analysis of a specific standard deck, maybe to help some newer players. Yeah. Oh, so deep.
We can't use that, can we?
Shout out Cast from Exile. Anyway,
I feel violated, and anyway.
So this week, I think we all agree that the 4-color Ralley list might be a good one to do a deck tech on, just because it had 3 copies in the top 8, and some people may not quite get what's so good about it, what its weaknesses are. So why don't we go ahead and talk about it?
Okay, who's starting?
Well, we already went through the deck list, and we've already talked about it a little bit.
So I've got Martin Mueller's list open so everybody can see it.
Okay.
And it's just so to me, this deck is an aggressive deck at first, and then a late game deck that can just win the game in a turn.
Yeah.
Well, early on, it's having played against it is actually not very aggressive. It just plays It just plays 2 and 3 drops and kind of sits there.
Yeah.
And it lets, because as soon as you get a cutthroat online, so basically you wanna play whatever you can play on whatever turn you can play it until you get to Rally the Ancestors. If you don't have a cutthroat already out there, and once you get a cutthroat out there, you just sit.
Yeah.
You just sit and literally say, you just look across the table and say, "Come at me, bro."
Yep.
And
really, it plays like a combo deck, because what you want to do is you want to get Nantuko Husk and Zalaport Cutthroat online. Nantuko Husk allows you to sacrifice a creature to give him +2/+2, and then with the Cutthroat, anytime a creature dies, your opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life.
Mm-hmm.
And essentially, you're just incrementally draining your opponent throughout the game, and then you've got cards like Collected Company to give you extra guys onto the battlefield, and then Rally the Ancestors to bring them all back from your graveyard and just repeat the process. So that's essentially how this deck is finishing you off. Now, there are versions that we talked about before that don't play Rally the Ancestors, that still play the same basic creature package, and then like a Liliana, and they kind of use her to resurrect creatures from your graveyard and still get that incremental value and advantage. But yeah, I'd call this a combo deck, because you're just trying to fill the battlefield with all these small value creatures. You got cards like Elvish Visionary too, which are fantastic for that.
Yes.
They're just a 1/1 for 2, but you get to draw a card when they enter the battlefield, which is great. It replaces itself in your hand, and then when you rally it back, that's just even more card advantage. So, to me, this deck seems amazing in a world where Anafenza doesn't exist.
Yeah, that's
Agreed.
a good point.
It's either if it doesn't win by Husk, it just basically wins you by it wins by killing you with 1,000 paper cuts.
Yeah, and there are versions of this also that play the blue Thopter creator from Origins, the blue guy that you can tap 2 artifacts to make a creature unblockable until end of turn. Mm-hmm. And that's another way that they win, is they'll make their Nantuko Husk unblockable, sack everything, and then just kill you in 1 shot.
Yep.
But I think that deck is a lot more susceptible to removal. So where these decks, the Rally decks, just kind of don't care.
Yeah, Grim Horror specs. Once the engine really gets going, what happens is this: you just, anytime you kill, if they have a Zulaport Cutthroat and a Grim Horror specs out, anytime you kill a creature, you're reloading their hand, because there's 28 creatures in the friggin' deck.
Yep.
Yes.
So the likelihood of you killing something and them drawing another creature that they can then cast is pretty good. Oh, and you pay for it every time, and they gain a life.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And the worst thing is when they have an Nantuko Husk online, because even if you have removal, even if you have mass removal, it really doesn't matter at that point. Like, even the ramp decks that play 4 Ugins, yeah, he's got a whole board full of creatures. I'll slam an Ugin, I'll -3 to exile everything. No, I'm just going to sack everything to Nantuko Husk. So everything is not exiled. It all just hit my graveyard. I got a whole bunch of triggers, and then next turn I'm going to rally, bring all those creatures back, and you're dead.
So the question then becomes, how do you beat this deck?
Yeah, what's the defensive?
Well, I mean, we've already talked at length about Anafenza.
Yes.
Anafenza just wrecks this deck because, again, any creature that dies gets exiled instead of goes to the graveyard, which negates every dying trigger. As far as how to combat it, I know we've got cards like Hallowed Moonlight, which are great sideboard cards against these strategies.
And they're okay. The way I found to combat this is, if you're playing a deck with a lot of spot removal, you have to 1 for them every turn. So they drop a creature, it's got to die on their turn, you untap, they drop a creature, you kill it, because that keeps them from getting this engine going. Uh-huh. And then turn 4 is your big turn. On turn 4, you always assume they have Collected Company. It's just that simple. Once they get 4 mana online, you just assume they have Collected Company.
Yeah, especially if they
have
just
to keep a counter up.
Yeah, especially if they pass the turn. If they just go 4th land, pass, you know they've got Collected Company. And
they're waiting for your end step.
Yep.
So
counterspells are a good defense.
And this deck was, once Jeskai Black really started dominating, that was one of the first things that started taking this deck out, because Jeskai Black has all that 1-for-1 removal that you were talking about. And then Abzan came around, and Abzan really wrecks this deck. So that's kind of why this one went away for a while. And again, it's interesting that it came back with such fury this week. Again, it's a different region. Maybe a lot of people hated out Abzan. Maybe these decks were just able to avoid that matchup.
And Jason, we've got people on Twitch talking about how the deck did against Abzan, and I kind of have to agree with them. One way around Anafenza is going wide with this deck. I mean, the deck has the ability to just fill the board with creatures and then attack in, and it's, as long as one of the thing, I mean, Abzan has good value creatures, but it doesn't have lots of them. It's got, it doesn't have the ability to just spit them out with a collected company or even a rally, which is also very helpful.
Yeah. I mean, again, like I said, in a world without Anafenza, I feel like this could be one of the best decks in the format. Unfortunately, it does have Anafenza, and Jeskai Black is still a thing. It's still very viable, as you've seen this weekend.
This deck can give Jeskai Black a really hard time.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I would ever play this myself, but it seems solid. And if you got the cards, it seems pretty cheap, aside from Jace.
Yeah, but if you have the Jaces, it seems to be pretty. I guess the collected company is also a little.
But I mean, even collected company isn't that expensive anymore. It kind of saw a jump early on, but I think it can't be more than like $6-7 now.
Let's go to the internet. $8. Yeah. So
okay, that was not the worst.
No. Yeah, this is like you said. Other than Jace, if you have the Jaces, this is a very easy deck to build.
Yep. All right, with that, let's move on. We're going to go to the Gamers Vault. In our From the Gamers Vault series this week, Bob, you want to talk about what happened overall?
So we had 76 players, which was not too bad. Typically, when you start doing events, our original one had like 120, but that was still before school had kicked in. It was in August.
Oh, that's right.
Or early September, rather. So typically, when school kicks in as a gaming store, a lot of, college in particular, or even high school, you lose about a third of your players because they're back in school, and they've got more important things than Magic. Some of them do.
Yeah,
blasphemy.
Pretty much.
So... but the event was good. I mean, it was a plus for us. A lot of new people in the store. Really great judging team. I want to give a really big shout out to our judge team. So we had a team of 6 judges, and they were all level 1s, which is all you need to run an event like this. People think you need like a level 3 judge. You actually don't. And the reason we specifically wanted level 1 judges was it's very hard for level 1 judges to get on the job training. A lot of events want level 2s and they want a level 3, and it's just very, very difficult if you're a new judge to get on the job training. And to become a judge in Magic does not require anything other than taking a written test. And then you have to have a judge oversee you judge like 1 or 2 events. But there's no like requirement for you to have, done 10 or 15 events and really, really had put the time in. And I'm not putting down judges. Level 1 judges at all. The point is, we really like the fact that we can give them kind of a mid-sized event where they can really break their teeth on and get some experience.
Yeah, for sure.
And they did just great, all of them. We had one of them drive all the way down from Long Island to judge the event, so that was very nice of her. So they were all great, and we didn't have any, no real big issues. Everybody was really good. I do want to talk about one real quick story. We have a kid who comes into the store. We all call him Dream Crusher. He's about 10 years old. Jason knows who I'm talking about, right? You've seen this guy, right? And his father plays too. But he's a very young kid. He might even be under 10. And he plays, and he can play at like a kind of semi-competitive level. I mean, he's not, he knows what he's doing. He knows most of the rules. Yep. And he played in the tournament. He played all 6 rounds. Had a blast, man. You could walk over 7 rounds rather. Yep. And everybody who played against him, and there were a couple guys that were real serious players that he got matched up with in some of his early rounds. Yeah. Every single person that played against him was totally decent to him. And it's not like they were like, "Oh, well, you're a young kid, you can take that back." I mean, no, they followed competitive RL rules, but he was having a blast, and they were having a lot of fun right along with him. And that's really, really nice to see. It really is. All of the people that came were really good people. So thank you to everybody who came, and thank you to everybody who, who drove, and thanks to the judges. All the local people who came, no thanks to you. You guys always come on. No, thank you.
Man.
Actually,
already taking the local guys for granted.
You know
That's
what?
how it is.
Well, when the entire Team Gamers Vault puts up as bad of a showing as we did at our own open event.
Hey, wait a minute. Hold on. A lot of us made 16 to 32. I was one of them.
Okay. How many of us made top 8?
None.
Okay, there we go. All right, moving on. I win.
Yeah, all right. So the winner of this was, I believe, looking at your messages, it looks like it was Phil Napoli who won the whole thing?
Phil Napoli won the whole thing.
Okay.
And he won it with Esper Dragons. And I will... Let me find...
Did he?
Okay.
Wait,
hold on. Let me make sure the second one's Phil Napoli. So this is what happens when you take pictures of deck lists and send them over.
Yeah. I blame your staff.
No, I'm sorry. He won it with Abzan.
Okay.
And it's kind of an interesting list. It's basically Abzan tokens is what I think he called it. So
okay.
I'll read the list down. It's 4 Dramoka's Command, 4 Abzan Charm, 4 Gideon Allies Zendikar, 1 Murderous Cut, 1 Silk Wrap, 3 Wingmate Rocks, 4 Anafenza, 2 Den Protector, 3 Hangerback Walker, 4 Warden of the First Tree, and 4 Siege Rhino. He's got 1, 8, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 26 lands, it looks like, of the Abzan variety. He has a Smoldering Marsh.
Yes.
He's got 4 Shambling Vents.
Yes.
And those are for late game, so a deck like this is going to Emblem Gideon a lot. And Shambling Vent as a 2/3 to spend really 4 mana on, because you got to spend 3 to activate it, and then there's, you're tapping him to attack.
Yeah.
A 2/3 with lifelink for 4 is okay. A 3/4 with lifelink for 4 is great. And a 4/5 with lifelink is just awesome. So in the sideboard, he's got 3 Duresses, 1 Sorin, 2 Transgress the Mind, 2 Tassigers, 2 Silk Wraps, 2 Ultimate Price, 2 Self-Inflicted Wounds, and an Utter End. So he brought the whole event home. He won our Lotus. It's his Lotus now. Yeah. And deck's cool. Deck was really interesting. It's more of a tokeny build.
Yeah, the biggest difference I see from the other Abzan lists from before is he's just running the 3rd Wingmate Rock in the main.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's running the 3rd Wingmate Rock, but he's running Hangerbacks. He's running 3 of them.
Yeah.
And they were, if you watch the deck play out, it was kind of a big part of the strategy, was just to kind of get your Hangerback up there, fight it with something that would eventually kill it.
Yeah.
And then get your tokens with a bunch of emblems up, and then just kind of swing in for the win.
Nice.
So, yeah, it was a good deck. It was a good deck.
Cool. So,
anyway.
Looking at your messages here, Andrew Davis is 2nd place, and I'm looking at his list now. He is the one that was running Esper Dragons.
Yes, Esper Dragons. Yes, he is. So, who's going to go through this one?
I'll do it. When you write out your deck list, though, guys, for the future, put your creatures together, put your instants together, put your sorceries together, put your lands together, because this is just going to sound like a mess. But he's running 4 Dig Through Time, 4 Solumgar Scorn, 2 Scatter to the Winds, 1 Negate, 3 Crux of Fate, 2 Utter Ends, 1 Ultimate Price, 4 Foul Tongue Invocation, 4 Jacevin's Prodigy, 3 Ojutai's Command, 3 Dragonlord Ojutai, and 1 Solumgar the Drifting Death, and then 1 Dragonlord Solumgar. So, unlike the Esper list that we talked about from the GP, he's down to 3 Ojutais. He's keeping 1 Dragonlord Solumgar in the main, and then going back to old faithful Solumgar the Drifting Death.
Mm-hmm.
The token
Still
killer.
a good card.
Yeah. And then he's got all your Esper lands. I don't see anything too crazy. 3 Shambling Vents were his choice for the day. In the board, he's got a Singleton Languish, 2 Disdainful Stroke, 1 Tasker the Golden Fang, 2 Surge of Righteousness, 2 Virulent Plague, 1 Dispel, 2 Duress, 1 more Dragonlord Solumgar, and 2 Irration Cleric. 3 Irration Cleric.
Yes.
Handwriting. And so, yeah, we had mentioned the whole Irration Cleric versus Surge of Righteousness. He decided to go with both. He really didn't want to lose that aggro matchup. And he's got the Ojutai's commands.
Did you see a lot of aggro at the event? I didn't see that much.
Are you being a jerk right now, or?
No, I only had 1 aggro matchup, so.
Okay, well, I told everybody who would listen that my first 2 rounds were against the Tarka Reds, so you must not have heard me.
But you won one of them.
I did, but still.
So you're 50-50. You're good.
Yeah. But yes, there was a Tarka Red in the room. I'll just say that. I know that firsthand.
But Jason, was there a Tarka Red in the room?
There was. Yeah.
There was. That's right.
Yeah.
Next is Ralph Batesh,
Yep.
who is
Yeah, I'm
he's
just
the
looking
third
it up.
person down. So sorry for our disorganization here.
So he was running he was running more of a stock Abzan list. Chad,
Okay.
you want to hit this one up?
Yeah, I'm just making sure I'm grabbing the right one. It's got the lands on the top.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
All right. He's got 2, 4, 8, 9.
He's got 25 lands.
I've got 26.
26. Yep. You're
Okay,
right,
26 lands, and he's running 4 of the Shambling Vents. So for creatures, he's got 4 Warden of the First Tree, 3 Hangerback Walker, 4 Den Protector, 4 Anaphens of the Foremost, 4 Siege Rhino, and 2 Wingmate Rock. This is pretty stock. I'm liking that he's running the 4 Den Protectors. 4 Gideon Ally of Zendikar for that reason, and 4 Jarmoka's Command, 4 Abzan Charm, and 1 Murderous Cut. In the board, he's running 3 Silk Wrap, 2 Tasker the Golden Fang, 2 Ultimate Price, 2 Transgress the Mind, 2 Duress, 2 Surge of Righteousness, and 2 Self-Inflicted Wound.
Yep. So this is your tried and true Abzan deck.
Yes.
Yep. You guys remember when Shambling Vent was like $2 or $3?
What's
Yeah.
that?
What is it? What is
Yeah,
it? $57 now?
Well, it's over 5 because a lot of these lists are starting to play 4 of these. So I would not wait to pick up your set. If you don't have these and you think you might play them, I'd take a look at those soon.
Yeah, these are going to be tried and true for quite some time.
Yep.
Hey, look, I'm all about the 2/3 lifelinker.
Yeah, and Modern likes its man lands. Don't forget.
Yeah. Yep.
So
Yep. So then, in 4th place, we had James Williams. So James was running. 3rd one is right. 4th one. Yeah, 4th one's James. So James was running a more of a stock, or he was running a Jeskai Blacklist.
Yeah.
So 3 Ojatai's Command, 2 Golikin's Command, 3 Crackling Doom, 2 Soulfire Grandmaster, 1 Disdainful Stroke, 2 Negates. That's right.
Yep.
God, wow, and a Disdainful Stroke in the main too. 2 Utter End, 1 Dragon Lord Outcast, 1 Duress, 2 Tassiger the Golden Fang, 2 Dig Through Times, 1 Wild Slash, 3 Fiery Impulse, 4 Jace, 4 Manus Rider, and then he's running 25 lands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 20, 24, 25, 26, 26. Yeah. Yep. So, 1, 2, 3, yeah. And of note in here, yeah.
Did you read the very last one?
Yeah, and then he's running a Singleton
Right.
Painful Truths.
Ooh.
Yep. 1 Painful Truths, which I think is I found it to be a great card in the mirror. I played against Clay Gireffi game 1, and I had a Painful Truths in the board, and I boarded it in, and being able to draw 3 is really nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So then in the sideboard, he's running 1 Dragonlord Silumgar, 1 Despise, 1 Mastery of the Unseen, 1 Transgress the Mind, 1 Virulent Plague, 1 Ultimate Price, 2 Radiant Flames, 1 Felidar Cub, 1 Arishan Cleric, 1 Roast, 1 Duress, 1 Disdainful Stroke, 1 Dragon Master Outcast, and 1 Dispel. So kind of a stock list. Looks like he's taken out a Tassiger for a Disdainful Stroke. Looks like he's kind of cut a Wild Slash out of there for a Painful Truths. But the rest of it seems pretty normal. Dragonlord Silumgar definitely a overperformer right now in the sideboard.
Yeah, I saw him a lot this weekend.
He's great. Mastery of the Unseen's there, which I thought about running in my board. I made the decision not to, but it seems good for control. Seems like a great card.
Yep.
Not a fan of Roast, but he got higher than me, so he probably knows something I don't.
Well, I mean, it deals with siege rhinos. Roast is the rhino killer, essentially.
No, you're right.
And then being able to flash it back with Jace if you need to.
Yeah.
Or Soulfire Grandmaster.
Oh, God, yeah. All the life gain.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember playing a game where I played a green-red landfall guy, and we had a Soulfire Grandmaster on 2. I kind of didn't block. I took a lot of damage. I would attack in, and gain some life. And on turn 5, he had like 2 or 3 creatures out, so on turn 5 I just tapped 4 for buyback at the end of his turn. Fiery Impulsed a guy, gained 3 life, and got my Fiery Impulse back. And he just kind of looked at the board. It's like a light went off his head, and he goes, "Yeah, we're done here. Game 2."
Yeah, that's every turn from now on.
Yeah.
And then I felt really bad because Game 2 was exactly what Game 1 was.
Oh, really?
It was like turn 2 Soulfire Grandmaster. It's like I wanted, when we hit turn 5 at the end of his turn, I wanted to be like, "I'm really sorry to do this to you again, man." But so
Hey, man. Hey, you got to do what you got to do. No mercy.
Rinse and repeat.
Sweep the leg.
Oh,
you know, Jason, most of our listeners don't know what that reference is from.
God, this is the sad world we live
I
in.
don't know.
It is
I,
a
I,
sad-
I think our listeners might get that one.
I know.
All
I
right,
know
I'll tell
Schmuck
you-
would.
All right, I'm going to tell you what. For our listeners on the Twitch stream, the first person to message where that's from, we'll send a pack out to.
Nice.
I will send a
nice.
I will send a pack
There
of
we
Battle
go.
for Zendikar out.
And
All right.
Jason, could you mention the quote again?
No mercy. Sweep the leg.
Name me the movie.
All right. So who's it going to be? I'm watching the chat. I'm just waiting for it to pop up because we are on a bit of a delay from.
Yeah, well, that's okay. Well, it'll come up.
Yeah, progress.
Yeah,
Anyway.
we have a running record. I think that's it for the list that we have, right?
Yep.
From the
So,
event.
Maverick 03 Karate Kid. So
Yeah.
Maverick, if you will, man, if you Bashful Arcadian, you're like 14. You just Googled that, okay? I don't believe you actually seen that movie. Okay, so Maverick 03, if you will, I don't know, can they private message on here, Chad?
Yeah.
They can private message if you
Okay.
private message to what?
Or if you're on the Facebook group, you can message us through that too.
Yeah.
But private message, I'll put it in the chat.
Okay. All right, 19.
That's Jared, isn't it?
Bashful Arcadian is Jared. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's what I thought. Okay.
Speaking of
In
there,
any event, so just real quick about the Gamers Vault Open. For all of you that attended, again, thank you from all of our staff there. You guys were very, very awesome. And there will be another one, December, I believe it's 18th. I'll give you the real date at the end of this.
I
But
saw that.
and because it's an open series, all of the people who have top 8'd are invited to our invited to our invitational, which will be the next day. So December 19th will be the next Gamers Vault Open. That's
Okay.
the last one for the season, and the 20th, the day after, is our Gamers Vault Invitational. So there will be 24 people invited to that.
nice.
Now, here's a question: are you going to have IQs between then and now for anybody else to possibly qualify for this invitational, or is it only going to be the 24 people that top 8'd the 3 events?
I don't think so for this season, only because we started kind of late because the store only opened a couple of months ago. But we're going to start these up again on a regular basis next season probably. And
Excellent.
so we'll be running. We may look to run IQs. There's a whole lot of stuff we've talked about doing. These are all the 3 of these and the invitational are just kind of the trial run to see how everything does. Look at the numbers and make sure that we can keep doing them and keep making money. So the more people that come out and the more people that support it, the longer this will run.
Oh yeah, and we had some big name players. All of the big local guys were there pretty much.
Yep.
We had Gerard Fabiano. I mentioned he played against Jared in round 1.
Yep.
Jared Trotton from the Facebook group.
Mhm.
And like pretty much all of the local grinders that I see at all the SCG tournaments and all of the state championships, I saw a majority of those guys there as well.
So I think that's pretty much everything about that I have to say about the Open.
All right.
Anybody else has anything to talk about?
Well, we do. We'll move right into the bad beat section. As you guys know, we tell bad beat stories not as just an outlet to bitch and complain about things we did wrong, but as lessons to teach everybody else and just to help ourselves grow. And we had several over the weekend from other people, either from the Facebook group or from the Lotus Open itself. And we'll start with local player Jared Trotton. If you're on the Facebook group, you've already seen his story. So Jared had gone to time. They had gone, him and his opponent, they'd already played their 5 turns and it ended in a draw. And I guess maybe even jokingly, Jared said to his opponent, you want to just rock, paper, scissors for who wins? Now, we all know, if anybody who's been following Magic over the last year, you know that they changed the rules a while back to where you cannot offer any kind of alternate way to decide the game. No rock, paper, scissors. No coin flip. No dice roll. Nothing. If it goes to a draw, it goes to a draw. The only way you can determine the outcome of a Magic game is to play Magic and determine a winner.
Yes.
So a judge just happened to be next to him and overheard that and issued him a disqualification right on the spot. Not just a game loss, but he was DQ'd from the entire event. And this was in round 2, I believe.
Now, there is an important reason why this is done. And I know there was a lot of talk on higher standards, and this is straight from several judges' mouths, not just the one at our event that I've heard about this. Magic the Gathering, believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, is when you go to an event that pays out money, and so our event paid out cards, but basically our event's like a 5K, roughly, if you value all the cards and all the prize payout. If you go to an event that pays out serious money, like $5,000, guess how close Magic the Gathering is to card game gambling? Really, really close. It's not that far off as far as the government is concerned, or governments of other countries are concerned too. And that being said, one of the ways that Magic has gotten around and made the argument that it is not gambling is by saying, well, it's not just sheer chance. There's a chance element. It's a card game, and the cards are shuffled and randomized. So there's chance involved, but it's a game of skill as well, and a game, and skill plays very heavily. And the argument's been made it's closer to chess than it is to poker.
Right. It's because it's a competition.
Right.
Depending on how you play and how your opponent plays, it could go either way.
Right. And so, that being said, it is not gambling. But when people start tossing a coin, rolling dice, or rock, paper, scissoring for an outcome, that's gambling.
Yes.
I mean, that is sheerly based on chance, and that can jeopardize the integrity of the event, and if it happens too much, can jeopardize the ability to have these events played in the style and the way that they're played. And once it becomes gambling, a lot of different laws kick in, state and federally. Yeah. So WotC is very, very conscious of that.
Yep. So the moral of the story is, don't even joke about it. Jared said that he was kind of half joking when he said it, but because there was a judge right there, they have to take every statement that somebody makes as serious, and they had to issue the DQ. Yeah. Jared was a little bit worried because there might be further action, but I think he's going to be safe in this case. He's a young guy. I mean, obviously you can't just use ignorance as an excuse, but he's a young guy who has no other blemishes on his record. Yeah. I don't foresee any long-term ramifications from this, but if it ever were to ever happen again, then he would possibly have a suspension to follow. But moral of the story is, don't talk about it. Don't even joke about it. It's not even in your brain. Just forget about it.
Yeah.
So we got a couple other stories here. First, I wanted to mention Roger Bulmer, who's been a big contributor to the show since we first started. We even had him as a guest on the show way early on. Do you even remember what episode that was, Chad?
It was somewhere in the 20s, but this story is insane.
Yeah, so do you want to go into that, Chad? Do you remember everything that happened?
I do. So Bulmer posted onto the Facebook group that he was playing a match during the IQ. Was it?
It was either an IQ or like a PPTQ.
Okay.
A big event up in his area.
Yeah, a large comp event, and he played a face-down Den Protector, and obviously I'm guessing that what happened was he played a face-down Den Protector. He didn't have a manifest token on top of it.
Right, because he manifested it with a Master of the Unseen.
Okay, so it was manifested. It was one of the cards that he really wanted to have in order to continue his game, and he went on to fetch 2 lands. He fetched these 2 lands. He gave his opponent his deck to shuffle. What his opponent ended up doing was cutting the deck on top of his manifested Den Protector. After that, Roger looked down. He said, where is my manifested token? And the other guy's like, I don't know. What was the wording? Did he say, I don't know where it was, or I don't know where it went?
Yeah, he said the guy just played dumb.
Yeah.
He said, he's like, I don't know.
So, obviously, there was a judge call made. He explained the ruling. The problem was because the judge wasn't there to actually see the token, it could have been hearsay, and because his opponent was playing dumb, and because his opponent had never seen the token flipped over, he didn't know what the card was. So there was no way to understand it. So what the judge ended up doing was shuffling the deck again and manifesting the top card of his library. At this point, it could be anything. And Roger is a very good Magic player. He went on to win the game, and it's just a poor situation. I believe the other guy even said this is why you use tokens, the manifest tokens, which is kind of like arrogant to say.
Yeah, because I mean, it's Roger's convinced that the guy did that on purpose.
Yeah,
he cut Roger's deck right on top of the manifest and moved the whole thing over as a way to just get a card off of the table.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I don't dispute that. Obviously, I'm not. I wasn't there. Yeah. And that may very well be, and that's a shame if it is. In regard to manifest tokens, though, it's very, very smart to do that, and the reason is, or morph tokens, particularly, and in this case, it's less so because it's a morph, it's a den protector. You don't play a lot of, you're not playing Mastery of the Unseen, for instance, in your deck, so you're not going to have a lot of manifest tokens, but it isn't a bad idea to have morph tokens, and morph tokens with numbers on them. With a Sharpie writing on there, because if you have more than one morph, it can get confusing for your opponent, and confusing for you when your opponent goes, which morph was the one you cast on turn 4 and which one was the one you cast on turn 6.
Right, because part of the morph rules is you have to maintain the order that these were put onto the battlefield. You have to keep track of that, and you have to know which is which.
The owner has to keep track of that, or the opponent has to keep track of that?
The owner does, I believe.
The owner of the permanence has to keep.
Okay.
Yep. And so it's the easiest way to do that I've seen people do is they have morph or manifest tokens, and they write numbers with a Sharpie on them, and that way when you morph a creature, you put morph 1 on him, and then when you morph another creature, you put morph 2 on it, and that way, no matter how they get switched around the battlefield, you always know which one is which. And it can get confusing too. I mean, when I play, I'm not one of those players that flips his cards back and forth. I tend to fold my cards up and hold them so they look like a single card. Now, I don't do that so my opponent doesn't know how many cards I have. Plenty of people will say how many cards in hand, and I'll fan them out. I mean, it's fine. I just tend to do that, and a lot of times I fold them up and I put them on the table in front of me, right in front of me. Mm-hmm. But when I tend to go and draw cards, like if I'm digging through time, I will fold them up and put them somewhere on the table. And I try to be a neat player, but sometimes they end up in the middle of the table. And God forbid if I had a morph out there and they got mixed up, and so it's just easier to have the tokens out there.
Yeah. It's just another thing. This could be just a new cheat that's going around where people are trying to get cards off your board. I mean, I'm serious. Like the cheat of the day used to be the whole cutting lands to the top of the deck.
Yeah.
Now it could be cut your opponent's deck on top of a morph or a manifest that's not covered with a token and get it off the battlefield, because if that happens and you don't see it happen and you can't prove it to a judge when he comes over, they have to take the board state for what it is, and they can't just be like, oh, I'll just take your word for it and take this top card off the bottom of your library and manifest it for you.
Yeah.
So it's just something new to watch out for. So as you're playing, if you choose not to play with these morph and manifest tokens, at least keep an eye out on your battlefield when your opponent's cutting your deck.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, we have another bad beat story from another guy from the Facebook group, Kevin Alexander. I'm not exactly sure what happened here, so somebody else will have to go through this.
All right, I'll take it. Did you read it, Bob?
I read some of it, but you're probably more familiar with it than I am, so go for it. All right,
so yeah, Kevin Alexander was in a PPTQ. He was 0-2 going into round 3, and playing round 3, which is always good. You don't want to just give up at 0-2. He lost game 1. He goes into game 2 and 3 and beat him. He went on to say this is a brew of his own, but he's playing Dark Jeskai. So Bob, you got another friend. So
there are many that are devotees of the mantis.
Yes.
So it seemed from the explanation that Kevin's opponent was playing slow, and Kevin just wanted to progress the game. And basically what happened is Kevin went on to win game 2 and game 3 to win the round, and his opponent was like, for lack of better words, his opponent was basically like, how about you slow down next time? And the opponent seemed to be elder of age, so you think he would have some more maturity at a loss, but it just seemed like he was just salty. And it's one of those things that it's sad that we can't play this game without, if we lose, just accepting the loss.
Yeah.
We want to be able to go into the game and win or lose and enjoy that we played. But so many people have, and I get it, it's competitive. You're playing for a purpose, you're playing for money or whatever it can be. And people just get too into that. And if they lose, they're personally hurt.
Yeah. And this... Go ahead, Bob.
Well, you know, it's funny. I played against an opponent. My opponent, I think it was round 6. All right, let me deal with this. Keep going, Chad.
While you're doing with that, I have something to mention of my own. I've had opponents in the past. I've tended to play control-ish decks or decks that do require a bit of thought. I know, even for a guy like me. But I've had opponents in the past try to rush me. Like, even if we haven't gone to time, if it looks like there's a possibility that the game might go to time, I've had opponents, one local guy specifically at a different store who's kind of been notorious for this whenever I've played him. He's like, we got to hurry this along. We have to hurry this along. You got to play. And I will never let somebody rush me like that. Like, I don't care if it means we go to time. I don't slow play, but I still get to think about my turn.
Yes.
I'm never going to let somebody rush me like that. And I know this is kind of unrelated to Kevin's story, but since we're talking about it...
Well, it's kind of the flip side. I mean, I don't think Kevin was trying to rush him through it. I just think it was one of those where the opponent was actually slow playing.
Yeah. And I just, I don't like when people do that, especially if you haven't actually... If you're still, like, more than 10 minutes away from going to time, then I think that's kind of uncalled for, and it kind of pisses me off, honestly. But I would never be rude or curse at the guy if he was trying to rush me. But at the same time, I'm just like, dude, let me think, let me make my play, and I've never slow played in my life. But yeah, I still need to think about it in a real game, a real competitive game. In like, say, round 7 of a state championship, I want to take a couple of seconds and think about what I'm going to do.
And I'll be personal advocate to this. I've been told by Jason when we were playing Two-Headed Giant. I was like, all right, let's pass the turn. And Jason's like, whoa.
Yeah.
Let's slow the game down a little bit and talk about our decisions. And
again, not to purposefully slow down the game, but to just make sure we're doing everything right.
Yeah, because
make sure we don't do anything stupid.
Unlike Jason, I get into that. All right, we've got 2 more turns. Like, if we can win in 2 turns, I just want to push it. And Jason's like, all right, let's think about this before we just go to the next turn, which is the right decision. Yeah. So it's just it's funny because Jason does that at every level, which is a good thing because it's always a good practice.
Yeah. But getting back to Kevin's story, it's really odd that his opponent would do that after the game, and just that's the kind of thing that can ruin your day. Essentially, you're going to one of these big events, you're excited to go, you're excited to play, and then you run into this one asshole that kind of ruins the whole experience for you. And I've had that before in the past, and I've mentioned it on this show.
So many
how I was just having a great time at like a Star City Open. I run into one jerk who was at the Open this weekend, and he completely ruins your whole day. Yeah, our friend was there, Chad.
Oh man.
Yeah. So.
It's interesting. I played my very last round, or one of my very last rounds, was against the guy who had driven all the way from northern New Jersey, like almost 2 hours away to get to the show or to the game, and he was the guy who was playing GR Landfall, and who I just I just destroyed. It's a bad matchup for his deck.
Yeah.
And the whole time I played him, we were talking, and before a round between games, and I drove up from here and blah blah blah. I drove down alone, and oh, how was I said, so after game one when he just got kind of thumped, he said, it was a horrible matchup for my deck, and I said, yeah, man, it's tough. I'm sure it's tough, but he said, I said to him, well, he said, and I'm whatever X and 4. He hadn't done very well that weekend, and he's like, drove all the way down here. I'm X and 4, and I said, well, I mean, did you enjoy yourself? And he goes, oh yeah, man, yeah, absolutely.
That's all that matters.
I'm not upset I came at all. Like I'm having a great time, and it's nice to be able to see that attitude. I wish that I could have that attitude all the time, because sometimes I don't. Sometimes I go on tilt.
Of course, and it's definitely one of those things, especially like I go until even playing MTGO if I make a click mistake, or if I'm accidentally hitting F6 instead of F2.
Yeah, and it's okay to go on tilt as long as you don't let it affect somebody else. Like, don't let it affect your opponent or the other people around you. Maybe kind of step away, kind of like beat yourself up inside a little bit, but just it's when you start projecting that tilt, you start affecting the people around you, and that's when you don't want it to really kind of take over.
But Kevin is on the Twitch right now.
I was just going to mention that.
Yeah, he was saying after that game, he was just like, it shakes you up inside. It's one of these things that it's going to stay with you for the rest of the day. And I'm glad that you went and posted that on the Facebook group, because use the Facebook group as a way to vent, because everybody's been through this at one point or another.
Yep. For sure. So, speaking of the Open from this last weekend, I have just a couple of small things that I wanted to touch on while we were on this. First, I played an Eldrazi ramp deck, because that's what I've been meaning to play for quite a while now, and I missed so many life gain triggers off of Jaddy Offshoot.
Oh, that stinks.
First of all, I played Jaddy Offshoot on turn 1 in, I'd say, 90% of my games throughout the day. So I had Jaddy Offshoots online almost every time that I was playing, but I kept freaking missing landfall triggers, and I would recognize it as soon as I either went to my combat phase or went to my instep. I'd be like, damn it, I forgot to gain a life on that. And I know my opponent saw it, and I just kept trying to say to myself throughout the day, remember your landfall triggers, remember them. But I'd say I probably missed about 10 life total on the day from Jaddy Offshoot triggers. So really simple stuff like that. I don't know if any of them made a difference in any individual games, but it's just that's an amateur mistake that I need to pay more attention to.
It's a good thing to mention too, because a lot of people are going to play landfall, and it's going to be one of those creatures that isn't affecting the board other than affecting the paper. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So you're not going to be paying as much attention. I'm sure Jason put down a fetch land and got it, but then missed it when he went to actually search up the other one. So yeah, to everybody that's listening, just pay attention to every card on the table. It kind of sounds like a lot, and it definitely is a lot when it gets into late game, but it's one of those things that can win you the games.
Yep.
Jason, there's a modern deck called Life of Norn that you should play. You will never miss a trigger again ever after playing that deck.
Is that like the mono white life gain deck?
That's the Soul Sisters deck that has Norn the Wary in it,
gross.
where every time he flashes back, you trigger all of your Soul Sisters, and you trigger. It has mirror. It has the little 2-drop mirror artifact that spits out little 1/1 mirrors every time a creature flashes comes back into play.
Oh, I mean, I'm the king of missed triggers, because when I was playing the green-black constellation list last standard, I missed so many constellation triggers at times with that deck. It's sad.
Well, all I'm saying is I had the same problem you did, and I purposely built. I saw that deck at like a semi-local event on MTG Top 8, and I built it, and I played it in Modern for almost 6 months to force myself not to miss triggers.
No, that's good.
And you know what? A lot of it is Magic Online kind of spoiling you.
Legitimately, player.
Because Magic Online, you don't have to worry about catching your triggers, because it catches them all for you.
So when you get free.
So when you get so used to playing Magic Online, it can make you a worse paper player. So that's something that you really got to pay attention to.
That's a very good point.
Yeah, and then towards the end of the event in round 6, I played against everybody knows the guy, Mr. Talkie Know-It-All, the guy who knows everything. He's done everything better than you, and he tells you when, this game's over. You're dead. Yeah, I've already won. There's no way you can win at this point. Dude, shut the hell up. If you're that person, just go somewhere and just die. Because nobody cares that you know it all. Nobody cares. Okay, this is a huge pet peeve of mine. When you've got lethal on board, like say you've got the last haste creature in your hand, and all you need to do is play it and attack with everybody, and you've won with lethal damage. The people that go, boom, game. They drop their creature and just go game.
Yeah.
You are a douchebag. I hate you. Go somewhere and die. You're not impressing anybody. You're not cool. Doing that is just being a dick, and just don't do it.
And that was our section of, you know what grinds my gears?
Yeah.
You know what really grinds my gears? When you can't find the droid you're looking for.
Yeah. Yes. So that is my bad beat story for the day. Take it for what it's worth. I'm just a nobody who likes to ramble.
Jason, will you please tell us how you really feel?
I think I already did, actually.
Oh, okay. All right, good.
So let's push. Let's push on.
Yeah, moving on. We've got some upcoming events still. This has been one jam-packed month for us locally here in the Jersey, Philly area. We've got Grand Prix Pittsburgh coming up, which is modern, so we're probably not going to talk about it too much on next week's show, but I know I'm going to be there. Bob, you're still planning on going?
Unless work throws me a curveball, I'll be there.
Yeah, so I'll be there because I've already paid for a hotel room, so you're damn sure I'm going to be there. I'm sharing a room with Matt and Lawrence from Cast from Exile and my friend Bernard, and apparently they've got a couple other people asking if there's any more floor space. So that's good in one sense where it's more people to split the cost of the room with.
Yeah.
But at some point it becomes uncomfortable, and you don't want to listen to 5 other guys snoring as you're trying to sleep before a big event. So we'll see how that goes. I'm looking forward to it. I'm probably playing Tron, Red Green Tron, or I'm going back to Slivers. So we'll see how that goes.
I think that'll be a great segment for the cast right after.
Yeah.
Because it'll be Jason just going, never room with other people.
Yeah.
Remember how I said the thing that really ticks me off the most is know-it-alls? Well, I found a new thing that ticks me off the most.
Yeah. Oh, so many things piss me off. It's not even funny. But yeah, that's that. I know I'd mentioned I'd go into the blue-green Eldrazi ramp deck, but I think we're kind of going long on time, so I'm going to skip that. Just know that I played blue-green Eldrazi ramp. I posted the list on the Facebook group. Not a big fan of the blue splash. I think I'm going to go back to the red splash, or maybe even the black. So we'll see. But I'm sticking with some form of Eldrazi going forward.
There's actually an Eldrazi deck I really want to try out there that I saw. I don't know where I saw it, but basically it plays 4 Crumble to Dust in the main and Oblivions. And and Oblivion Sowers.
That's gross.
Oh, dirty.
All the land hate.
It looks,
my God.
and I looked at that deck. For people that don't know me, Jason and Chad know, my favorite decks are the decks where all of the fun is taken away from my opponent and given to me.
Yeah.
So I was the guy when Alliance and when Alliances and Ice Age was out, who played prison decks. You know, the old Winter Orb, Icy Manipulator prison decks, that was me. I was that guy. And so that deck looks exactly like the deck I want to be playing, where it's like, okay, I destroy all your lands, and then on turn 6 I get all of them. Like, yes, 4 pieces of main deck land hate. Oh my god,
that's pretty nice.
Okay, if you have that list somewhere, you need to send that to me because
I'm gonna send it to you. I'll find it.
I'll find it. Just link it into
that could be the new team deck.
Higher Standards Facebook group.
I will find it.
Okay.
So.
And, just real quick, Siege Rhino Master 87 in the Twitch chat says that the black ramp deck is the best right now, so maybe I'll try that.
I'm telling you that Crumble to Dust with Oblivion Sower. It may not be good, but oh my god, the first time you do it and the look on your opponent's face will be worth however many losses you take.
Oh, I'm sure. All right. So, Chad, you got anything coming up?
Yeah, yes and no. Between me missing last week's episode and military exercise that I've been going through all weekend long, I haven't been able to play much MTG or MTGO. I am going to be getting back onto that, but I'm getting ready for a trip that's upcoming, and I will be missing the episode 51, which is November 29th.
Where are you going?
That is in undisclosed information.
All right.
By the way, for episode 51, we're working on some guests, so that may be the next episode where we have some really good guests on.
Yes, if you follow any tournament reports, you've probably heard the names before, so we'll just leave it at that.
Nice. Bob, other than GP Pittsburgh, you going to be participating in anything?
I think there's some local stuff going on that I'm going to do. I haven't really looked at the calendar, but I've basically committed that I'm going to grind my face off, particularly after the new year, but I've kind of started that process now. But I plan to be playing in an event almost every weekend after the new year that I can.
Cool.
Yep. And then, like we said, we've got GP Pittsburgh this weekend. The next weekend is the Star City Legacy Open in North Jersey. But they'll have the standard and modern IQs on Sunday, which I'll probably go to the standard. I don't think I'll play Legacy.
I'm thinking about taking the plunge with Infect.
Yeah. Could be worth it. I mean, probably still a lot of games, and no matter what, your matches are going to be short.
Yeah, and I'll get to do what I just said I enjoy doing, taking all the fun from my opponent and giving it to me.
Yep. Okay.
Well, it's all lost. As soon as you put down the first Infect creature, they're like, oh, okay. All right.
All right.
You know what? Just get out.
So, just closing out here, final thoughts. Today, I just recorded 2 back-to-back episodes of the Sofa King podcast with my friend Brent. And I know I've talked about the show before. They're on iTunes. They've also got a website, sofakingpodcast.com. They're an awesome podcast. They just pick random topics. The 2 topics that I talked about with them today were chemtrails, the whole chemtrail conspiracy theory, and then politics in America. So those 2 episodes are going to be coming out over the next week. I also recorded the newest episode of Project VCR, where we talked about the movie The Hitcher from 1986. That should be getting posted here by Tuesday, I hope, this next coming week. And that's what I've been doing. Anybody else?
As Bob mentioned earlier, next week is episode 50. So we are going live at 8 p.m. on Monday, November 23rd. There's actually going to be... So remember, every 5 episodes, we're going to be asking questions from the Twitch stream. And anybody can ask a question. We might even get involved into bringing you onto the cast so that you can have your voice heard as well. And... I will be giving away 4 packs of Magic Organs out to 4 people of the stream.
Did you just call it Oregons?
Organs. Like Origins Trail.
Portland, Oregons.
So yeah, I'll be giving away, there'll be giveaways on the stream, and anybody should be there.
Cool. Well, this episode is now going to be called Oregons.
Nice.
Magic Oregons.
Chad, did you copy down that address, by the way?
Address?
Yeah, which address?
Of the person who won the contest for Karate Kid.
I copied down his name, yeah.
Okay, name and address, good. Okay.
Cool. So, if nobody else has anything, we'll just close it out. Big thanks to everybody that's in the Twitch chat. We got a lot of good feedback from these guys, a lot of good answers to some questions we had. Thanks to... especially to, who was it, Siege Rhino Master 87. He said he's going to post the black version of the Eldrazi ramp list in the Facebook group. Okay. Or was it the red version, the red you can't have lands version? Either way.
Yeah, and real quick, guys, so yeah, the Gamers Vault Invitationals, the last open's the 19th, Invitational's the 20th. Once again, Black Lotus and Moxen are the prizes for the top 4.
Hell yeah.
And if you're in the area, please come down and play, have a good time. If you're in the area anytime before then, come down, buy some stuff from us.
Yep. And next week, as we already mentioned, is our 50th episode. I'm sure we'll be doing some special stuff. Stay tuned in the Twitch chat. We'll be answering questions all episode. And thanks again, everybody who's been listening to us thus far, everybody who's new to the show. We love you all. Thanks, guys, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.
Bye, guys.
We'll be back.
We out?
Yep.
All right, Brunette. Below, excuse me, underneath the video, you will see a link for the Facebook group. So anybody who's not involved in that, just join up and we will approve you guys. It's a closed group, so obviously we don't want
They're also
tag.
pasted into the chat.
Okay, we don't want taggers to be in there. And thanks everybody for coming on. Thanks for the people that followed. If you're still watching and you haven't followed, please hit that follow button and you'll see when we come on every week. So it's usually every week, Monday or Sunday at 8 p.m. So thanks for everybody for stopping by. We will check you later.